Hey, it's Dr. Dunaway here with Chiro Strength, and today we're talking all about hamstrings and low back pain. Now, oftentimes those hamstrings are going to be really tight in the presence of low back pain, and it's not necessarily because the hamstrings are just tight to be tight. Oftentimes, they're locking down to support the pelvis because it's not getting the stability from somewhere else. So there's going to need to be some stability mechanisms or some coordination drills with the core that's added to this. But stretching those hamstrings, if done properly, will help to relieve that back pain. So I'm going to show you a few ways to start with that. Now, as we start this, I'm going to start in a good seated position, because what's going to depict whether you have a good hamstring or a bad hamstring stretch is what's going on with the pelvis. So if my pelvis is flexed, I'm not going to get a good hamstring stretch. But if I can anteriorly tilt the pelvis, sparing the spine of excess motion, I'll get a good stretch through the whole posterior chain. And if we have some adhesions in the nerve, it could start to create a little nerve tension as well. So what I'm going to do is, with a good upright torso, think about anteriorly tilting the pelvis a little bit and leaning forward. This will get a good stretch on the entire posterior chain. And then what I'm going to do with this foot is I'm just going to give it a few gas pedals like this, trying to remain upright. Now, if I barely let my pelvis tilt back like that, I'm not getting anything here. Now I'm getting a nice good stretch. So make sure you're monitoring the pelvis during these stretches. About 10 or 15 of those, and then I'm going to stand up and work on the hamstrings in a standing position. But this is a good way to get those hamstrings, or just the general posterior chain as well as that sciatic nerve, flossing through and loosened up a little bit. Now, I'll continue with this leg in a standing position. Now, the reason I like a standing position is because I want to get a good stretch, a good active stretch in the hamstrings, and not a passive stretch. And again, we're going to be focusing on the pelvis. I'm going to put my leg up in a chair, and we'll start with the leg straight. If we need a little lower surface, because I don't want to have a surface so high that we have to flex our back like this to get the leg up, you should be able to stand nice and upright with a good anterior tilt. And if we do that, I'm already getting a little stretch in this hamstring right here, and then I'm going to work that foot again with this gas pedal, just like this. Now, what I'm going to end up doing is maintaining a good breathing pattern. If I fall out of my pelvic tilt, I'm not getting anything. So before I try to stretch further like this, I'm going to rotate my pelvis forward and then lean forward a little bit, and that's going to be the stretch at first. Then to get a little higher in the hamstring, I'm going to bend my knee a little bit. Again, anteriorly tilt the pelvis, push my hip back like this, and now I'm getting a nice good hamstring stretch up high. Again, flexing the spine, I'm not getting anything here. But if I keep a good anterior tilt, boom, nice good hamstring stretch, and I'm breathing here. Now, this is just a position to get in. You can do contract, relax. You can do long, sustained holds. You can kind of come in and out of that position. The style of stretch is going to be different depending on what you need, but the position remains the same. The old forward fold and stretching out your hamstrings like this is not going to get those hamstrings, because of the fact that pretty much from here all the way down is just spinal movement. And in the presence of back pain, we want to limit that. So if I'm doing a stretch just like that, instead of doing both legs at the same time, I'll put one leg forward, the other leg back, keep a good anterior tilted pelvis, and then I'm just going to hinge back. And now on this lead leg, I got about 90% of my weight. Now I got a good stretch on that hamstring, or the entire posterior chain really, and my pelvis is here. All of this will lose that stretch. So as soon as I start flexing the spine, I'm losing the stretch. So I really want to focus on getting that stretch just on the posterior chain, not from the low back. Again, holding for a certain amount of time is fine. Just make sure you're breathing in that position. Those positions are going to be key. Be focusing on what's going on with the pelvis when you're stretching those hamstrings. You can do the ones where you're laying on your back and lifting the leg up. I prefer to be stretching as actively as possible, so we can make sure we start to learn how to move from the core and pelvis. But that's going to be a good way to get some good hamstring stretches, at least to start with. And so if you have any questions with this, if you're currently suffering with anything you need a little more help on, you can always reach out. Ask me at drDunaway@chirostrength.com. You can always call the office at 931-321-1414 if you're around the Clarksville and Nashville area. I'd love to talk to you and help you out. And like I always say, don't just mend, transcend. Thanks.